The qualifiers for the Dream Car Championship are here. 5 races ahead of us to determine the 20-car grid, and we start about as far west as we go with Interlagos. Actually, that's not true. I think technically tracks like Laguna Seca are further west, but as far west as we go this week, anyway. Interlagos. Naturally, all 5 of these races will be in the 715 class because that is the championship that we are qualifying for. So, I don't know what else we'd be driving. We are away from Sao Paulo, Brazil, aka Interlagos, obviously. 4-wheel drive bonuses will get Dedrick Schwartz, the pole sitter, to an early lead, where he would be effectively uncontested in the early going, I would say. Surprisingly, Emma Daunt did not really get to use her own 4-wheel drive advantages to get very far. Of course, you know, as with any qualifier race, the big story is just who grabs a top 4 finish. As Thunder's heavily modified FJ40 sticks out like a sore fucking thumb, but it's his teammate and brother who's nearly getting dumped by Stephanie Kaiser. Lightning Larson, who is the POV car in this race, in the Stealth Corvette, an 8th gen Stingray with a completely carbon fiber design, and literally just a number and a logo. That's it for the actual design on it. I guess not every car has to look like this. And this has damage. Not sure who we would have hit. Oh, it might be Bernice by the looks of it. Probably just turn 1 nonsense. My aim's looking for P7 on Liza Kaiser. He's going to be forced to the long way. Now he's got the short way though. And although he has the long way again, I think he might just clear the Porsche, yes, in the long term. He only has to grab 2 more places to get into a transfer spot. The problem is, 4th currently is his half teammate of Winter Rose. Working on Alice Carson, who's not going to give it up too easily because 5th is still a workable spot, especially if something was to happen to the front cars, which I don't think is super likely at the moment, considering they're all pretty evenly spaced out. Still Carson and Lightning fight, and I think now the C8 finally has the advantage, and off he goes. What was the camera doing there? Didn't get the memo, understandable. Emma Daunt has damage. So it seems Winter Rose has pulled a dirty trick from the book. Bumper to the back of the 603 will remove that Lamborghini from the contest, but didn't damage her own car. Which, conveniently then, when you skip to the end of the lap, enables Winter's half teammate to go into the top 4 without knocking her out of it. And Logan is about to battle Alex to try and get to 5th himself, because if something happens to, well, either one of his teammates, or to Dedrick or Mizzotto, then there can be 2.5 Demon Sports cars in the top 4, because we all, well, it's not even a secret, Racing Wolves is literally a satellite team of Demon Sports. top four, relatively close quarters. I think Lightning is looking the most racy of these four drivers. I think he might be plotting to pass his teammate. Don't think Winter will make it too easy though. Forces the Corvette forces the C8 the long way around since they're both in Corvettes. The Lightning caught Winter missing that hairpin. We'll see if that can be converted to third. Negative. That said, the Group 3 spec Corvette is not going to do much on the straightaway here. And yeah, she knows that. She's just going to get out of Lightning's way. Probably sees, this guy can probably win the race if I get the hell out of his way. And here he runs Nico Mizzoto over with said overspeed. Ahead of the F430, fighting the 992 into the braking area, and doesn't clear. It takes a delicate touch. You don't want to bang up your car because then you don't get the transfer at all. But as ever, it is still a good idea to try and take any places you can get. A, because it is a race. B, because that will affect your starting position. Winner of this race gets the pole position for the first race in the actual championship. And Lightning Larson, with a long-term move through turns 4 and 5, has claimed that for himself. Now he need only hold on to it for 2.5 laps. And now his teammate's getting aggressive, basically cutting Mizzoto's nose off at the first hairpin here. Elbows out versus the car, the 130 car. And Winter gets to third there. I think Nico wanted to dive, but the different cornering attributes of the Group 3 kit made that not possible. Headed 2 laps to go. Mizzoto takes a look down the inside of the 626, but that was never going to get anywhere, and I feel like he surely knew that. That's a section the Corvette is strong in. Those high-speed turns, the Group 3 car will destroy any street car there. Down the inside, never mind. Winter is applying all of the pressure, but Schwartz is not being particularly moved by any of it. Winter might cross him over. Door bangs car number 42. Winter's gonna get to P2 by ambushing at the exit of turn 6. And now Schwartz has to hold off Nico Mizzoto to stay on the podium. And I think he should do that. Yeah, he breaks a little defensively, we'll say, but he does do that. I think we do have our top 4 set up, or settled, just based on how far they are ahead of 5th place and 6th place. I think it's probably about 4 seconds between 4th place and 5th. And since none of them have damage at the end of this 5th lap, none of them have to pit, so yeah, the order is basically decided. We just have to figure out, the drivers in the top 4 are decided. The order is what's not decided. As we take the white flag. But everybody seems relatively spaced out. Mizzoto's kind of close-ish to Schwartz, but not really close enough to threaten him. And Winter, she's getting closer to Lightning. And this is the section the Corvette will probably do a little better in, but then again, so is turn 3. So, and none of that matters. Even if Winter gets by, all Lightning has to do is stay kind of close, and then just steal it back on the run from the final turn up to the finish line. If Winter even gets by him at all. Yeah, I think we have our order set here as well. I don't foresee Winter pulling off any kind of crazy maneuvers here. What's that Mitchell banner say? I'm dumb. I can't read it. Final turn, Lightning Larson believe this might be his first win in this car. His Nissan GTR GT500 is very prolific, but he has not done too much in any of his other cars until, apparently, today. Victory for Lightning. His teammate gets second. Cedric rounds out the podium. Nico Mizzotto will be the last car to qualify. And just in the background there, we saw the tiny specks of Alice Carson and Logan Cool, 5th and 6th. So there is your top 4. So Lightning Larson will be on the pole for the first round of the Dream Car Championship in the Stingray. The second qualifier takes us to Trial Mountain. For the first time, we are using the reverse layout of Trial Mountain as an attempt to mitigate all of the basically chaos and car damage that loves to occur at forwards turn 1, 2, and 3. Everybody just overbrakes for this, which should be basically high-speed chicane, or S's, but everybody acts like it's turn 1 at Monza put up to a mirror for some reason. And whenever one car does that, everybody has to do that. So now we're going to actually make turn 1 and 2 Monza but put up to a mirror. In hopes that maybe we will not have 12 cars damaged by the end of lap 1, and we can actually have a qualifying race that has some merits granted to people that aren't the leader. Trial Mountain Reverse. The first race is underway at this location, or this variant anyway. Four-wheel drive advantages, as usual. Mitsuri is going to jump from 3rd to the lead before we even hit the first turn. There's a lot of blind corners and uphill just anomalies on this version of the track, so being caught unaware is going to probably get at least one car. But yeah, it looks like the slower turn 1. I mean, it's not perfect, but we were never expecting it to be perfect. Still, it's only 3 cars with damage as opposed to, like, I think we've seen 14 or 15 on one lap before. Garrison was hit by Honoka, and it's not clear what Mika hit, but whatever she did hit, it did not do any damage to them. That right is part of the car, Riker. Speaking of Riker, that is the POV car. Me, myself, and I. The corporate sellout C5 Corvette. Shot, and you wouldn't get going it away. I give the slightest tap to John Garrison. Luckily, he already had damage, so even if I hit him hard enough to do it again, it wouldn't matter. I don't think that would have damaged his car, though. That was the slightest tap ever. Even so, he defends, or attempts to defend from me into that hairpin there, but he's got damage, so... Not that I do that anyway. I was nowhere near in when he was hit by Honoka. And now this actually becomes a high-speed S. Sort of. A lot of people are unsure of how to exit it, though. It's definitely adapting on the fly for most, if not all, of these drivers. They are 3 wide in front of me, and I elect to take no part in it. Looks like DeFrisco is going to win this fight from the middle, which doesn't usually happen. Never mind, Milo's going to get him. Nope, Milo's going to get the dirt. And now I am 3 wide because I didn't have a choice in the matter. With Milo and Ryza, Milo slides on the way into turn 3. I'm just trying to keep my fucking fenders clean while I slowly pick my way ahead of the SOR McLaren. Currently, Billy would be the one transferring, and then Nozomi Thrasher and Victory. Nozomi actually has a bit of a run on Thrasher, but that case. I think she actually just backed out of it. She wasn't really trying to overtake. Did not take any risks when she is already in the top 4. Especially early in the race. Her teammate / our teammate, Maki, is in 5th. If she can get by Billy, 2 transfers. I find myself already in the top 10 after picking my way through that 3-wide crowd. Slowly but surely. But this is just kind of the order of the day. I just kind of slowly picked my way through the field. I kind of had to. The field was more spread out because of the way that turn 1 and 2 are here versus normal. So it's not quite as easy to just pick up a massive number of spots right off the jump. Ryan Ice taking a look down the inside of Danvers, finding nothing. All is calm on the western front. Thrasher is literally on Nituri's tailpipe. If the Aventador even has a tailpipe, I don't know if it does or not. I think it does. Yeah, one very big one. Thrasher lost traction. Nozomi caught up to him because of that. In the background, I got ahead of the Diablo and attempt to use a different line to do the same on Danvers on the back straightaway. I didn't really think I'd have a power advantage on Danvers, so I had to get inventive. Thrasher down the inside of car number 53. Nituri's not taking it lying down, but she gets some massive understeer because that is a very heavy Lamborghini. Thrasher sideways, the duality of automobile, and we return to status quo, but Nozomi has definitely joined the fray as a result of that. Maki got ahead of Billy, much the same way that Thrasher tried to get ahead of Nituri. The difference between them is when going into the next turn, Maki, well, didn't maintain all of her grip, but she didn't completely slide out. And Billy tried to go back down the inside, but only found foliage. And their battle allowed me to get up to them as well. Two laps to go, and I would also pick off Stuber, as he was a little out of his rhythm after getting overtaken by Maki. So it is a Mercury Racing 345. Obviously the problem there, as Ice does now, never mind, he finds the same dirt that Milo found a while ago, and his overtake on Danvers is null and void. Obviously the problem that Mercury now faces is, barring exceptional circumstances, there's no way all 3 of us can get in, because we have, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, so what's better here? What's the bigger financial gain? Are we better off just having me sit and defend for 5th to make sure that someone like Billy or David can't pass Maki or Nozomi, and get 2 of our faster cars in the category into the championship to fight for big prize money? Or is Powerade really paying me that much that just running the race would be worth it? Running the 5 championship races. While I was yapping, Thrasher generated another huge run on Nituri heading through the tunnel. And he gets ahead much cleaner this time. Does he maintain his traction in the next turn? Well enough. He still slides under braking, but he doesn't completely half-spin. And this is when we suddenly realize, wait, if all 3 of us can pass Nituri, then it doesn't matter. And we can just lock out 2, 3, 4. I don't know about getting to Thrasher, but Nozomi is the first to do so, or first to try doing so, down the inside at the 3rd to last turn. and that is the right lane. I also got ahead of Maki at this time for a bit, because I just had such a run down the hill through that chicane. I was able to swing it by Nitori as well. And Maki sends it on Nitori on the white flag lap. She also gets to me doing so. So I have to turn out of it. Now I'm locked in a battle with the 53 car, but she botches the exit. So many people have been caught off guard by that. It's kind of crazy. And that is, well, spoiler alert, that actually does her in. She never gets back to me. And the race effectively finishes this way. We do still have battles on track. Milo is still trying to go for P6 on the Cayman of Billy. But everybody else is pretty much a single file, and even then, Milo's attempt at passing seems to have expired. Might have overspeed again. Oh my god, yes he does. Jesus Christ, that Cayman is absolutely dead in the water. Nozomi got kinda close on the back straightaway, but ultimately did not have straight line speed to get to that Mustang. And this is how we would finish. Thrasher heads off of the final turn, and he will grab a victory in kind of near where he lives, or near where he's from, at Trial Mountain Reverse. And then it is Nozomi, Maki, myself, to round out the rest of the transfer spots, making it a Mercury 2-3-4 here at Trial Mountain. Milo almost got Nitori over the line, but ultimately that doesn't mean too much, since that's fighting for 5th, which is just kind of best of the rest. The middle part of the week takes us from the Americas to Europe for the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit. And this is our kind of Western Europe representation, I guess. There's not much else to be said. We already know the drill by this fucking point. And away we go. Four-wheel drive advantages. Though Yo's car is not nearly as quick as other things that have had that, so I don't think her odds are great. Also, well, not four-wheel drive. Wayne Hansen is right there. And that is four-wheel drive, which is Silica. Who, you know, was the previous race winner in this category, and also won the day after that, so she's riding a lot of momentum at the moment. I'd be pretty surprised to not see her finish top 4. God, you like fucking headlights? Can't see goddamn shit. Logan was our pollster, by the way, and he has already fallen down out of the top 5, maybe, fighting rain to stay in it. But top 5 doesn't matter, top 4 that you need to transfer, and he does not have that. He has since lost that to Liza and Silica and Wayne Hansen, who's now the leader. And I think Silica will be joining him up there relatively shortly. This was our first and second from Lago Maggiore, the last 715 race we did, and all the drama that came from that. Eric Lazowski, working his way slowly around Billy Stubert, is the POV car here, and he is locked in close quarters combat with said Porsche Cayman. There he gets ahead into 12th, right up behind his team owner. Little twitchy on the way out of the turn. We do have our only 2 examples of debuting cars in this race. Makoto Mitsurugi with a Lexus RCF 715 class runs it into the back of Francisco Fidanzi as soon as I put the camera on her. hardly a classic maneuver, and the one I would have expected to do something like that, Goldie Shinozuka in a, well, at least it's symmetrical Dodge Demon. I would expect her to drive nothing else, I must say. The team's third driver that's competing in this race is also sitting behind them in P12, so... Eric up to P8 following the attrition of cars that got damaged on the first time around. Puck goes defensive into turn 9, that's a decision. Buck's probably trying to keep Eric away from his two teammates, Logan and Bernice, who are trying to find a way into the top 4. I think there is only going to be 2 spots to share, though. These 2 Lamborghinis, much like we saw at La Camaggiore, are walking the field at the moment. They're in a class of their own. They feel like they're in, like, the old 730 class. They're that fast right now. Yo would be a sitting duck, but the Demon Sports cars tripped over each other, and Bernice got boxed in behind the Evo. Still, Logan managed to pick his way by and move into a transfer spot with that. And the Evo lasted longer than I thought it would. This thing is one of these slower 715 cars, simply because it's just, I mean, it's a Lancer Evo, right? Like, what did you expect? Eric's gonna try and look 3 wide into turn 4. That... well, it didn't go nowhere. He managed to get 2 wide with Bernice. Somehow. And he will clear her into 5. Never mind, Bernice puts the bumper to the back of the 67 as cleanly as possible, though it didn't damage either car, just enough to boot the Ferrari out of the way a little, and that's about it. Still fighting this Viper. Buck might rejoin the fight if it goes on long enough. I do not think it will. I think Eric is now clear to go after Yo and then Logan to try and make it into the top 4 for himself. Maiza isn't too far away. He's gonna miss the hairpin, trying to get ahead of Yo at the braking zone. Ultimately, I think he's still going to get it anyway. And through goes Gojowski. 5th place, only 1 more car to pass, and he's got 2 laps to catch somebody. Whether that be Logan or Liza, because Liza is being caught by both cars, both Logan and Eric. But I think Eric will be passing Logan before the latter can even think about a move on the 959. Down the inside, Logan pinches him at the apex of turn 1. And again at the entrance to turn 3, Eric's car kicking up a bit of dirt because he didn't have any other choice in the matter. He's still going to get a better exit than the 83, and he's going to aggressively take his lane. Logan sends it down the inside at 4. I would expect nothing less than elbows out driving from him, especially when a transfer spot for a championship is up for grabs. But Eric doesn't go quietly either. They're going to be 2 wide still, heading down to the 7-8 chicane. Eric clears. Logan brakes aggressively again. Contact made. It almost looks like he tried to fucking turn the 67 car. 83 tries to shoot around the long way, but the Camaro is not that agile. Still kind of gets it done. Bernice wants to get involved, but cannot get a lane. Logan just parks the bus at the apex. Eric, not fooled, finally gets clear of the Camaro. You know, though Logan tried to stick it down the inside as Eric was setting up a late apex, he will fail. Battling for effectively 3/4 of a lap, Eric Wojciechowski finally grabs himself a transfer position. I'm going to be looking for extra credit on Liza in a minute. He's got Slipstream and a better run off the final turn. So that is effectively a done deal. I don't think Liza will try to do too much to fight him back because that would jeopardize her own transfer spot. Bernice clears Logan on the front stretch, probably the faster car. All things considered, that Camaro doesn't have very many wins, but this Viper has probably more, despite existing for not even half as long in the series. This Camaro has been around since, I think, mid-Season 2. This Viper was introduced early to mid-Season 3. And we're at the second half of Season 3, so this car has not even been around for a full year. Celica and Hansen are absolutely gone, as anticipated. The finishing order is reversed from Lago Maggiore, but it is very clear that neither of them are under any threat. Eric, I think, is safely in third, but Bernice has reeled that Porsche in, looking for a last-second upset on the elder statesman of the series. Down the inside, the nitro-fueled Viper sneaks through at turn 10, and that seems pretty decisive. I don't think Liza's got anything in the tank, I'm not intended, to take that back. It is highway robbery. Wayne Hansen wins, Celica second, Eric grabs the podium, and Bernice is going to grab the fourth and final spot to transfer out of this race into the Cup. It is a 3-6-7 for Demon Sports. No, 4-6-7. I cannot read. Ninth for Shinozuka debuting the new car. That is the end of the replay. Not actually a great race for her. She actually started 5th, lost 4 places, but then again, Logan and Yo also did basically the same, and I think some other cars up here got damaged. Celica jumped from 8th to 2nd. Hansen from 5th to the win. Bernice from 9th to 4th, and obviously Eric was the POV driver. We all know how that goes. Dragon Trails Seaside will host the, I guess, Eastern Europe leg of the qualifiers. Try to be a little geographically spread out when we do these, just to make sure that all the drivers, regardless of where they establish themselves as their kind of base of operations, can get at least one chance to qualify. Some drivers with greater infrastructure, outreach, or just general resources get more than one chance, and I guess that evens out. But even so, there have been drivers who have run all 5 races in a qualification week and still didn't make the Cup. For example, even up to this point, Logan has tried 2 of the last 3 races, and he's gotten a pair of, 6th place finishes to show for it. And just in general, Logan seems to be really good at starting a bunch of qualifiers and getting decent finishes, but he just can never clutch up a top 4. We are green from Dragon Trail. There will be no 4-wheel drive advantages in the top 5 at all. Burt Wheeler is off to the lead. Right, there's another example of resources and outreach. Brian Ice has started all but one qualifier race so far. He still has not qualified. He's not even made a top 10, I don't think. He might have had 1. For the second Thursday in a row, Noir is the POV car. To the shock of basically everybody. Oh boy, we got a spin in the background. Or almost spin anyway. It was Sebastian Kramer that I saw almost swapping ends at turn 4. Yeah, that curb really sucks, and his Porsche got launched further than everybody else's. Nilu got a piece of him as he was sliding. Big damage to her Corvette. Suspension damage to the 996. That might be all of the turn 1 drama, though. There's a lot of other cars that bounced, but none of them bounced into anything, it looks like. Yeah, just Nilu and Kramer. But yeah, to the shock of everybody, as I was saying, that this NSX even got fixed, considering it got absolutely fucking obliterated last week at Lake Maggiore by Isabelle Aspinall, who is serving a 7-day suspension. A 7-day suspension. Let's enunciate those as his record. So she's gonna get exactly one chance to qualify. She was banned for Friday's roulette race last week and all of this week until the final round. Noir tried to put some goofy-ass moves on Nico. She was not born yesterday, though, but she does have damage, so... don't recall where she got that from. I imagine there's probably a few others pitting on this first lap. Yumiya dropped from 3rd to, I think, as low as 11th on this first lap, and then is back up to 8th. Kind of circulating around after cars pitting. He has 6 cars in on the first lap. Yeah, 6, he goes a little. Already Noir's looking for 2nd against the other NSX who goes for a huge bounce. Where we're getting aggressive to try and stay ahead of the 7 car, ironically fighting the car / driver who took his original number, the 7. And the superior NSX on this occasion will be Noir. I wonder if they changed the setup at all when they had to effectively build that thing again. Or rebuild that thing, I believe is the word you're looking for, me. Bit of gas. Jackson Steele misses the hairpin as the leader. Not the kind of fuck-ups you want to be making when you're all on your own, like 3 seconds ahead of 2nd place. I mean, you don't want to make any fuck-ups, but you definitely don't want to make that one. I think they did. I think they reworked the setup on this NSX. That was an insane harbor chicane. Insane in the chicane rather than membrane, I guess. I don't fucking know, dude. Another missed corner. Jackson Steele is already effectively shitting himself. And he's not even under threat of losing a transfer spot. He's just under threat from Victoria Noir. That's it. That is the only driver putting him under any kind of pressure. And he is cracking under it as rapidly as possible. And through goes Noir into the lead. Never mind, she's gonna miss turn 1 a little bit herself. Which is technically turn 2, but that's besides the point. Jackson Steele will cross her over properly. He's making mistakes of his own, but he's able to capitalize on the one Noir makes. The second she thought she had the lead. Vert is kind of on his own. Barbara is trying to keep Taro and Mika at bay. And Paul Valentine. She's effectively under threat from a trio of Fords. While Noir continues to take shots at Jackson Steele. Huge wiggle for the NSX. As soon as the cornering speed comes at the cost of traction and grip. She's driving that thing on the limits, but loose is fast, I suppose, is what they say. Not that Jackson Steele is particularly driving comfortably either. That thing looks like it's about to slide too. Crossover, never mind. I thought Noir would have way more overspeed than that. She does have some, but not nearly as much as I envisioned. Steele defends into 1. Does he get it stopped? Absolutely not. Noir crosses him over. He wanted to take the late apex, but that would have revolved around him just driving straight through the 7 car. We already had that once last week. We don't need it again from Steele. Steele gets back ahead on the straightaway, but Noir is just much braver at that first turn. Probably having the lighter car, with just generally more cornering. And that might just be our top 4 set. I don't know, actually. Barbara's dragging this now duo of Fords. Valentine's lost time. But still, this duo of Fords up to her. Or with her up to Vert, I should say. Actually, yeah, car number 55 is looking kind of racy. She might try to pass Vert for 3rd if she thinks she can get away with it and try to up her starting spot. As it stands now, she would be starting a grand total of 19th if she doesn't pass Vert, so would be beneficial, but she has to be mindful not to go too aggressive, or she could end up just getting overtaken by Taro or Mika and not transferring at all. Although Taro, oh, they've run into each other, never mind. Well, that's not even a big contact. That's like bumper to the back of the 290 like territory, but it was somehow enough to damage both the Mustangs. Not exactly built for tough, I must say. Barbara goes down the inside at the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, and because she has the inside lane, that is a done deal. Mika does pass Taro, but that is effectively for pride, even though, I mean, she's the one that caused the damage on both cars. That is entirely her fault that neither of them are going to be in any position to fight for a transfer spot. They fight again. I think at this point there's a bit of argument between the two that they're just settling without contact. More contact, anyway. Vert has a lot of overspeed on the way down the straightaway. We will see if he can convert. No, convert Wheeler cannot get it done. A little humor there, not much. Steele is kind of keeping Noir honest, but I think at the end of the day, that NSX is going to do its best impression of the Phoenix. Back from the ashes, and is about 2/3 of a lap away from winning and starting 4th in the Dream Car Championship. Unless Steele goes for some crazy shit on the way down the hill here. But I think he will just be taking 2nd. And now we'll see if Burt Wheeler has anything to offer the 55. It seems like no. He did not have a very good S section. You see Valentine and Spencer Snyder back here lurking, but they're nowhere near these two. They're not going to be any threat to take a top 4 spot away from them. One more corner to go for the 7 of Victoria Noir. And she will get it stopped. She will get a win. And she will do it cleanly for the first time in recent memory. Jackson Steele right behind her in P2. And Barbara will grab a podium, a driver that's been relatively cold throughout most of this season, despite being a former champion and being really close to competing and winning the championship last season. Vert Wheeler rounds out your top 4 after sitting on pole. I think. Yeah, he was on pole. But yeah. Other than the Kramer slide and Taro and Mika tripping over each other, pretty day in the office type work. High Speed Ring is where the qualifiers round off tonight. What the fuck? Something like that. The 5th qualifier. I used the right formula to find the wrong answer on that sentence. Jesus Christ. Good. Great. Excellent. We're green from High Speed Ring. No, Shinozuka, the POV car, she did not miss the lights this time. That demon just has no low-range acceleration because it's got all the wheel spins and very short duration. It does, however, have the high line, which immediately puts it into the top 15. To the left on Logan, it's nothing. Actually, never mind, gets everything because Logan broke earlier. I guess this is the other race that Kasioko was able to make, but Nat Black is damaged. Not clear what she hit. God, might have been Ryan Wolf by the looks of it. The only other car around her was damaged. Riel also has damage, but that's way in the back, and that was hit by Hikari Taniguchi. Riel nearly got payback. I think she tried to bump him there. Oh, the leaderboard is moving without me. There we go. Shinozuka already into the top 5. We've done 1 lap of 7. And here we see Isabel making her singular start after her 7-day suspension was up. At the end of the day, it was only 7 days because, well, I didn't really get much help in settling it from the other admins, but I'm like, I mean, the war was a pretty big fucking problem. I know that's not really something you should use to justify that, but I don't know. Maybe there should have been more. There probably should have been more, but we can't undo it now. Hopefully she's gotten it out of her system, especially because if she does qualify out of this race, which seems possible. She started, I think, 4th, 5th, somewhere around there. Suzuka overtakes her team owner / cousin, maybe. Yeah, long term she will. Dakota was the pole sitter. Immediately got usurped by Stephanie Kaiser, who's some ways ahead of them both. And has now been passed by Shinozuka. Might be passed by Aspinall right here as well. Meanwhile, nope, Isabel backs out of it. Yeah, if Isabel does qualify out of high-speed ring here, she will be sharing the track with Noir in the championship, who won at Dragon Trail. So that'll be, mildly concerning, I will say. Wouldn't be surprised if it got a throw out of fucking ban in the championship if those two meet on the track. I'm gonna assume Goldie got ahead of Stephanie at turn 1 just by doing the high lane strat. Tsurugi's still trying to hold off Espinal. Rain is kind of closing in, but not too quickly, trying to join her teammate Silica in the championship. Now Isabel is clear, gets it done heading into the final turn. Tsurugi has the slightest overspeed, she'll get back alongside. She does have another gear in that RCF, so... And they make contact. Tsurugi, I think, actually turned in on her there, and she was the one who lost all the momentum because of it, so... I guess the infraction makes its own punishment. And this is kind of how the race would look for a lot of it. Yeah. So. You got Rain catching them, but that's about the only possible, like, deviation I could foresee from here, is if she passes Tsurugi. Or if she gets back ahead, or if Tsurugi gets back ahead of Aspinall. The slipstream is a powerful thing, but a Mustang is also very, very powerful, obviously. For Shinozuka, effectively looking for a bit of redemption, because at this point, the thing she's mostly known for in the Challenge Series is the absolute travesty that was her debut at Suzuka about a month or so ago now, where she argued with the driver who started 19th, missed the starting lights, and then decided to take it 4 wide at turn 1 at Suzuka and caused a crash that sent both her and Nilu spinning off into the gravel trap. She came back to win that race through some crazy-ass miracle, but some argue that should have never happened. And now it's getting close for second. Isabel has caught Stephanie, and she has brought Mikoto with her. Rain is still existing in the background in case things get physical up here. If somebody gets damaged on this or the next lap, she will be in a position to take 4th or better off of it. But I don't know that I foresee that happening necessarily. The one that I would expect to move somebody out of their way for a position is already leading. Stephanie has had aggressive moments, but I think she knows better and probably doesn't even care to try and pass anybody, even if she could. She's probably just thinking about defense. Isabel, I think, is just content to run the race because a lot of people would probably say she shouldn't have been here. And Mitsurugi usually isn't very aggressive. She kind of operates a little bit like the Scuderia Fidanzi club. She doesn't like to get physical for positions because it's not sportsmanlike. As opposed to Fidanzi, where that's also part of the MO, but it's also just because, well, that also damages our vehicles, and we don't have the money to repair our vehicles. Especially since their vehicles are more expensive than the ones Mikoto drives. White flag flying in the air for Goldie Shinozuka, who's just about far enough ahead from Stephanie. Maybe. That is a lot of overspeed for that Carrera, but then again, Goldie's got the trick in her back pocket, which is the high line. And I don't think Stephanie can do anything about that. It's basically like, you have to be set up to run that line. You either need to have a lot of downforce on your car, or the suspension needs to be really, like, custom built for it. And I imagine Goldie probably built this car for this track, with the express purpose of abusing the high line to eke out her first clean victory in the Challenge Series, and she's just 2 corners away from just that. Top 3 very close. Mitsurugi has fallen off the back of them, but she doesn't need to be too concerned about that because Rain is fallen even further back. Aspinall looked for a move on Stephanie, but I don't think she's gonna find much. And so it goes. Goldie Shinozuka is gonna head off the last turn. She will win at High Speed Ring. And no asterisk next to it this time. Stephanie second, Isabel Aspinall third, immediately following her suspension. So she will go to the championship to try and take a 3rd consecutive cup. And Goldie's team owner, Mitsurugi, will grab the final transfer position, which therefore means that our, this is a weird camera, there we go. Our roster for the Dream Car Championship will be Lightning Larison, Thrasher, Wayne Hansen, Victoria Noir, and Goldie Shinozuka as the week's 5 winners. Winter Rose, Nozomi Tojo, Silica, Jackson Steele, Stephanie Kaiser, Dedrick Schwartz, Maki Nishikino, Eric Wojciechowski, Barbara Page, Isabel Aspinall, Nico Mizoto, myself, Bernice Vertwheeler, and the POV driver will be Mikoto Mitsurugi, as she will start 20th with her 4th place finish here at High Speed Ring. And that is the qualifiers. So now we just gotta run the cup.